Notre Dame, on the other hand, can I say that I'm both still impressed and concerned all at the same time? Listen, this has got to be the best 0-2 team that we've seen in a long time. These two losses are just devastating. One of them on the road at a very good Miami team, and then this one against Texas A&M, which again looks like a team that can really cause some trouble in the top end of the SEC. So I don't think Notre Dame is a bad team. In fact, and I know this sounds crazy, and I don't normally compliment the AP poll, but I'm glad that Notre Dame stayed in the AP poll because it tells me that they at least watched and kind of understood what they were seeing. Now, I thought that they dropped a little bit too far. I would have had them much further up or higher in the rankings than what they fell to. I believe they fell to 24, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm glad they're still in the top 25. It's still a very good football team. They just happen to have gotten beat by two better football teams. So what's the challenge? What's the problem? What's going on with Notre Dame? Can I say that I don't think CJ Carr and the offense are the problem? Now, I know what you're going to say. Joel, you can't have big interceptions at crucial moments from your quarterback and win close football games. And I agree. I totally agree with that sentiment. And has Carr turned the ball over in critical times? Yeah. In both of those games, he threw interceptions against Miami. He threw an interception against Texas A&M. But the offense moved the ball. They scored 40 points. I mean, they're a dropped extra point away from overtime in this game, which was an absolute shootout, in particular in that second quarter. So Carr is 20 of 32 for 293 yards, a touchdown, but he's got that interception. Does he need to clean that up? Yes. Now, it's his second start. So I think like some grace because of that probably is warranted because you see a lot of good things. I thought their passing game was better in this matchup than it was in week one. So you see development. You also saw them change what I thought was a mistake week one from a game plan perspective and start getting the ball to Jeremiah Love. I thought Jeremiah Love was tremendous. 27 touches, 147 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, they were tough yards at times, but he's so dynamic. I don't think they're going to need to get him 27 touches against everybody, okay? But if you run the offense through Love, it takes some of that pressure off of CJ Carr, and I think they should be fine. Again, they scored 40 points against A&M in this game. So is it an offensive problem? No, not really. Clean up some of those turnovers, and I think you're going to be just fine. More of the concern lies in what I thought would be a strength, and more specifically has been a strength over the last couple of years, and that's the secondary. It was really clear in that first half that the secondary was overmatched by the speed of Texas A&M on the outside. Concepcion and Craver, those guys were open, and Notre Dame likes to run that man coverage, and they were getting beat in that man coverage. Marcel Reed had a lot of time to throw in that game. And so the defense has two things going on right now that is not helping. Number one, the secondary, I don't think, is as good as what they have thrown out there in the last couple of years. You couple that with the fact that they're not getting to the quarterback almost at all. I don't believe that they had a sack in this game. They didn't. No sacks against A&M, only one against Miami. So if you're going to play two good teams, okay, and you've got those 60 minutes in each of those games, and you can only come up with one sack over those two games, that's a problem if you're going to play man coverage. It's not as big of a problem if you're going to sit in safe zones and layer your defense and make sure that you're rallying up and making tackles and forcing teams to snap the ball 8, 9, 10, 11 times in order to score. Okay, it's not as big of a deal if you can't present pressure in the quarterback's face. But if you're running man and you can't get to the quarterback, watch out. Because it doesn't matter how good your secondary is. It doesn't matter who you have back there. You're not going to hold up for 3, 4, and 5 seconds. And there were times, you saw it, I saw it. Marcel Reed had all day to throw. So Notre Dame's defense has got to get better. Got to get better. Now let's get to the end of the game. Because I hate it when officiating, I'm not going to say decides the game, but when officiating becomes a topic, in particular in such an incredible game, late like that. Okay, if you look at the ending sequence, and listen, I hate doing this because each team is going to be like, they're going to think that you're arguing for that team or that this is going to decide the game. I'm not saying that. All I'm going to say is during the last sequence, Notre Dame got called for a defensive hold. Rightly so. It was an obvious hold. The defensive back almost tackled Mario Craver in the defensive backfield. You have to throw that flag, and the official did, rightly so. Then they got a first down, an automatic first down, and through that sequence of downs, now you get to the fourth down play. Game's on the line. This is the game. There was an egregious hold in the middle of the offensive line. The end kind of like stunts in, and he's going to have a free look. He beats the offensive lineman and has a free look, and he's going to get there right in the face of the quarterback, which again, when you're running man coverage, you have to get pressure. And he was tackled. You can't tell me that you're going to swallow the whistle on fourth down when it's obvious. Here's what I'd say, and I know that this becomes a big topic. I'm not saying Notre Dame should have won. I'm just telling you right now, from an officiating standpoint, if it gets down to a fourth down or a play like that, and it's a 50-50, 55-45, it's like, was it? Is it away from the play? If there's a shade of doubt, it's like, I'm generally okay with the officials letting the teams play in critical moments to a point. Like I said, if it's 50-50, 55-45, something along those lines. But when it's egregious, you have to call it. And that clearly impacted the play. You cannot swallow your whistle just because it's a fourth down. That was a 90-10 proposition, maybe more, 99-1. It's like, that's a hold. The flag has to come out. So that's an egregiously missed call on fourth down. I know Notre Dame's got to be sick about it, but I mean, that is what it is. Officiating is frustrating. The targeting penalty in several games, in that game, in the Miami and the LSU game, gosh, man, like, I will just say this quickly on targeting. I know I gave a big rant the other week, and to back that up, there was a strong push from several conferences, including, I know for a fact, the Big Ten Conference, during the offseason to create two different categories of targeting fouls so that you could have a targeting foul that didn't rise to the level of an ejection. So if it was a football play and there wasn't like malice or intent to harm or use your helmet as a weapon, then there would be a way and an avenue that the officials could call the penalty, mark off the 15 yards, but not eject the player, which is just far too penal. I think the right people are pushing in the right direction. We just got to get it over the hump, and hopefully that'll happen soon. Presents the question now back to Notre Dame quickly, and then we'll move on. Notre Dame. The question is, are they done? Is Notre Dame's season over? Can they get to the playoff as a 10-2? What's going on now? They're 0-2. Is there a future for the Irish? Here's what I'll just say. That was two last-minute losses to what we believe, and I do believe will continue to be really good teams. I think Miami is a heck of a football team. They proved that against South Florida. More on that on Wednesday. I think Texas A&M is a really good football team with speed, with solid line play, and a quarterback that knows what he's doing, a coach that knows what he's doing. I think Texas A&M is going to be a really good football team. I think both of those teams by the end of the year could very easily be in the top 10, maybe even in the top 5, maybe both of them. So is two close losses at that point, are we going to look at that and be like, man, they're out? Probably not. So the question is, well, let's answer the question. Is Notre Dame done? The answer is no. The problem for Notre Dame is that there's no margin whatsoever. 9-3 with those losses and what's left on the schedule is not going to get them in, so they do have to run the table. They're going to have to run out 10 straight victories. Their schedule does them favors in the sense that it can be done, but it doesn't do them any favors in the sense that they're not going to have any like real marquee teams. However, there are a couple of teams that are beginning to play better. One of them now creeps into the top 25. That's USC. So here's what Notre Dame fans need to do. You need to root for North Carolina State the rest of the year. You got to root for USC the rest of the year because you need those two teams to be quality opponents so that if and when Notre Dame can beat those teams, if they're able to beat those teams, then those can be at least looked upon as quality wins. And hopefully, for the Irish at that point, ranked wins. And then you would also hope and root for Miami to be really good, win the ACC, and maybe A&M go and play for an SEC title. That's the path. That's the blueprint. That's what you need. Toughest games on the schedule, I think, are going to be that North Carolina State game. I think that it's going to be the USC game. Other than that, Boise's not helping them with their resume. Arkansas, we'll see. I'm not sure. Pitt in November, not totally sure about that. I know you just saw that schedule up on the screen if you're watching YouTube. So not done, but zero margin for error, and you're kind of rooting for some other teams along the way to enhance the resume for this selection-based playoff committee that we've got right now.
Thank you for watching the Joel Klatt Show YouTube channel. And if you liked this clip, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel, and you can stay up to date on all of my college football coverage.